The topic for this discussion is very important. Several years ago, we started what's called the Ramadan nutrition plan. And a lot of people asked me at that time, can we use Ramadan to lose weight? Can Ramadan affect our waist? So I would like to share with you this presentation, and I believe it will be very important for all of you. And the title, Can Ramadan be good for your waist? So when we designed initially the Ramadan nutrition plan, the whole concept that we have is that there are 5 major goals for Ramadan nutrition plan. And as you all know, the first goal is to avoid hypoglycemia that can usually occur before iftar, to avoid hyperglycemia, which usually occurs after iftar and also can occur after suhoor. And then we thought it's very important, especially during the summertime, to avoid dehydration and acute renal failure. But one of the goals is to avoid weight gain and also to help weight loss. And the last goal is to avoid any electrolyte disturbance. So now the question which I asked earlier, how can we use fasting Ramadan to get major health benefit? Actually, science of fasting had been advanced significantly over the last decade. And if you read that very nice article, which came a couple of years ago in New England Journal of Medicine, it was talking about intermittent fasting. Fasting Ramadan is part of that intermittent fasting. It's called timed fasting. And the article was explaining the pathophysiology of fasting, how fasting have an impact on health and also in aging and in some diseases. What we know now about fasting is that it improves mitochondrial function. And as you know, the mitochondria is the most important organelle inside the biological cell, because this is where all the oxygenation occurs and the production of ATP inside the cell. So in reality, what they found is that during fasting, you put the body under significant stress, and that stress will lead to what's called autophagy. Autophagy means death or apoptosis of dysfunctional cells. So any cell in the body that is not performing very well will go into apoptosis and basically replaced by newer cells. This newer cells is what's called rejuvenation. So every time that you prolong fasting, there are 2 processes: autophagy first and then rejuvenation later. But the most interesting about fasting is that fasting is not only affect one organ, it affects several organs inside the body. It improves liver function, it improves microbiota in the intestine, it improves even fat function, it improves brain function, which is very important because part of the fuel to the brain is ketones, which we call it now super fuel. And then also benefit to your heart and benefit to your muscle. So in brain, what usually happens is increase is what's called synaptic plasticity and neurogenesis. And this improve performance and stress resistance, as I mentioned. And this is very important because when you are in fasting, ATP production is much higher, which increase mitochondrial biogenesis, and this will improve brain function. So the article also explained many benefits of timed fasting and intermittent fasting. And among them, improvement in insulin sensitivity, which actually we need for people with diabetes, reduce hepatic steatosis, which is very important because visceral fat and intrahepatic fat respond very quickly to any period of fasting. And also there is improvement in glycemic control, and finally weight reduction. So weight reduction is part of that whole process. So now how people can do intermittent fasting. There are several ways. One of them is just to reduce caloric intake in the form of fasting 2 days per week, just 500 to 700 calories. Or what a lot of people are doing is to have timed fasting for around 16 hours, 2 days or 3 days per week. You know, we know that a lot of people in the Islamic world fast Monday and Thursday, 16 hours, nearly almost, so 2 days per week. But you can also do it 3 days per week. There is also what's called intermittent fasting with very low calorie diet. This is what we developed at Harvard and tested, and it looks like it's very effective. So this is 3 days timed fasting, but during those 3 days also very low calorie diet, around 500 to 700 calories. And then the rest of the days are just regular eating. And then the last one is 7 days per week, timed fasting. And this is what is the Ramadan fasting is all about. And it is actually a superior type of fasting, although it is just for 1 month. So if we need people to lose weight during Ramadan, we have first to control their caloric intake. And for men, we thought that if people would like to lose weight, they should be on 1800 calorie diet per day. If women who are taller than 150 centimeter would like to lose weight, they will go on 1500 calorie per day. And if women are shorter than 150 centimeter, they need 1200 calorie per day. And as you know, those are distributed between iftar and suhoor. So suhoor will be around 30 to 40% of the calories, and iftar is 40 to 50% of the calories. And people can still eat a snack in between iftar and suhoor around 10 to 20%. But the most important is it has to be balanced between iftar and suhoor. Not everything in iftar and less suhoor, or everything is suhoor and less in iftar. If people do this, we know that people can end the Ramadan by a weight loss of around 2 to 4 kilograms. This will be around half kilogram to 1 kilogram per week. In the opposite side, people what they usually do by increasing caloric intake during Ramadan, they end up gaining 2 to 4 kilograms. So we need to help our patients and ourselves, if we are overweight, to lose 2 to 4 kilograms per month. And I will give you 10 tips of the nutrition plan that will help weight loss during Ramadan. As I mentioned first, we have to divide the caloric intake in a very efficient way between iftar and between suhoor. So 30 to 40 in suhoor and 40 to 50% in iftar, and the rest is snack. The distribution of macronutrients is also very important. We don't need more than 40% of all the calories, or maximum 50% of all the calories from carbohydrates, and around 20 to 30% from protein, and then the rest is healthy fat, almost around 35 or less. Design the meal, especially iftar, using the Ramadan plate. And I will explain in just a few minutes how this Ramadan plate will look like. And then, very important that people should avoid heavy sugary desserts. We know this is a very common habit during Ramadan, that people consume significant amount of sugary desserts. And then when we use carbohydrates, use low glycemic carbohydrates and higher in fiber. So fruits and vegetables and legumes and beans and peas, all those are very good source of carbohydrates and fiber, and they are of low glycemic index. And then hydrate yourself as much as you can, especially between meals. Start the meal by hydrating yourself by 1 or 2 glasses of water, but the whole amount of water needed per day was around 6 to 8 glasses of water during that period when you are breaking your fast. Avoid as much as you can any sweetened beverages. This is again very common in Ramadan that people do. And it raises the blood sugar significantly up for no reason and also contribute to weight gain. So water or non-sweetened beverage are preferred. And then take suhoor, and this is sunnah, take suhoor as late as possible. And I will explain why, and also I will tell you what are the meal that people can eat in suhoor that can last for a very long time during the day. And then, very important that you will have adequate protein and fat during suhoor. And again, I will explain why, especially protein and fat and not carbohydrate in suhoor. And then, iftar, as I mentioned, should begin with water. You need first to hydrate yourself and raise the blood sugar slightly, 1 to 2 dates maximum. Not 5 or 6, just 1 or 2 to start with. It has potassium, it has fiber, it has some glucose. It will raise the blood sugar slightly up, and then with 1 or 2 glasses of water, and then rest for some time, and then start iftar. And then finally, if you eat snacks, and I mentioned 10 to 20% of the whole nutrition for the day will be snacks between iftar and suhoor, so it could be 1 or 2 snacks, but the snacks should be low calorie snacks and low carbohydrates. So fruits can be a good snack, nuts can be a good snack, vegetables can be good snacks. So if we follow those 10 tips, it will help us significantly for weight loss during Ramadan. Now, here is the Ramadan plate. And as you can see, you divide the plate into 4 quadrants. So when you start your iftar, drink water, as I mentioned, and also you can have 1 glass of low-fat milk. I mentioned 1 or 2 dates with water. And then for the plate, if you divide the plate into 4 quadrants, 1 quadrant will have the protein component, whether it's chicken, lean meat, fish, or any other kind of protein, turkey or lean lamb, at least 1/4 in the plate. And then 1/4 of fresh vegetables. This is a salad. And then 1/4 of cooked vegetables or lentils or legumes in the plate. And then the last quarter is good washed carbohydrates like rice or whole wheat bread. That can be 1/4. So this is the Ramadan plate. And then the dessert will be a piece of fruit. And then you can add 2 spoons of olive oil, so you can get some healthy fat as well. If you use a plate like this is 770 calories only, and it has 45% carbohydrates. I mentioned between 40 and 50 is ideal, 20% protein, 20 to 30% is ideal, and 30% fat. So advise your patient to use a plate method. It's very simple, very easy. People can do it. Now, people usually ask, can I eat a meal that shut my appetite and last for very long duration in suhoor? In reality, yes. And there is one very good study that compared over 5 hours if you put combination of high fat or low fat with high protein or low protein. So you have now 4 options. You have high fat, high protein. You have high fat, low protein. And you have low fat, high protein, and low fat, low protein. And interestingly, if you look to the blood sugar, it remains the highest and continued for 5 hours, as you can see, by high fat, high protein meal. While if you eat low fat, low protein meal, and especially more carbohydrates, you will see it goes up and then quickly blood glucose goes down. So this is very important in suhoor. So let me give you an example of what macronutrients will do about the blood glucose post meal. So if you eat high glycemic index carbohydrates, say anything that's sugary, anything that has simple carbohydrates, products of white flour, bread, pasta, pizza, all those kind of stuff, or starchy carbohydrates like potato, rice, corn, blood sugar will shoot way up and then way lower and create reactive hypoglycemia and hunger. That's why we say avoid as much as you can high glycemic index carbohydrates, because it's not just raise the blood sugar up, but it can create hypoglycemia later. Now, if you give low glycemic index carbohydrates like vegetable, fruits, legumes, it will raise the blood sugar up and last for around 3 hours. Now, if you give protein, protein will not raise the blood sugar way up, but it will last for longer duration, up to 8 hours. Now, if you give fat, it will slowly raise the blood sugar up and can last for 10 hours, which means that if suhoor contain protein and fat, it will last for very long duration. So let me show you some components that you can put in suhoor. So here is beans, and beans are very efficient source of protein, fiber, carbohydrates, and also if you put vegetables and you put oil, it has healthy carbohydrates and healthy fat. This will last very, very long, maybe 8 hours or more. Eggs as well. If you eat eggs, it has fat and protein from albumin, and it will also last for a very long time. And then you have other stuff. You have yogurt, you have salmon, you have cheese, any kind of cheese that you like. And then, as I mentioned, vegetables are very good source, and some olives or nuts, and also some little grapes. That's all are fine. And people prefer to drink milk. You don't have to eat all of those, but as I can see, I didn't put bread here. I didn't put high glycemic index carbohydrate in that. And then a tea and coffee without sugar can be also a very good idea. So how this can be translated into healthy eating plan that will help weight loss. Dar developed a very, very nice guide, the Dar Nutrition Plan, and you can find it at daralliance.org or idf.org. You can find the Ramadan Nutrition Plan, and it had been developed in many languages, and it will ask your patient. There is version for healthcare provider and also for patients, but it can ask if you would like to lose weight. It takes all your information, weight and height, and design the plan. And also the plan is in different languages. So we have now in Arabic, in Urdu, in Malay, and also in English and several other languages. So what you will find a whole 1 week, and people can repeat that week. We have meals of 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories, and 1,800 calories. 2,000 are not done for weight loss. That's for people who would like meals, who would like to maintain their body weight. And as you can see, macronutrients are distributed, as I mentioned, 45 to 50 carbohydrates, protein 20 to 30%, and fat less than 35. And there is lifestyle recommendation, which I mentioned, like start with water and keep physically active, and don't sleep for longer than usual, because sleep deprivation can increase hunger hormone ghrelin and reduce satiety hormone leptin. And as I mentioned, the distribution of suhoor, snack, and iftar, and then it gives you examples of how the suhoor will be, how the iftar will be, and how the snacks will be in 1200, 1500, and also we have the 1800. So this is a very, very nice guide. Get familiar with the guide, advise your patient about it. They can use that week as is, or they can flip or swap days and then can repeat that week again. In reality, if people do it very well, people will lose, as I mentioned, between half to 1 kilogram of their body weight in a week. With this, I would like to thank you so much for your good listening, and I will be more than happy to entertain any questions during the panel discussion. So, Ramadan Kareem, and I hope all of you will enjoy it. And I think we have now very nice tools that we can help our patient with. Thank you very much, and thank you for the organizer of this wonderful event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Osama, for this very important lecture. I have a question for you and for Professor Nader about the effect of intermittent fasting on women. Is it the same for men, or there is any difference? Professor Nader. Mm-hmm.
Professor Amr, there is a very good question, but it had not been studied in comparison between men and women. But what I can just tell you that there is big difference in accumulation of visceral fat between men and women, and also difference in accumulation of visceral fat based on ethnic background. So, and also, based on the location as well. So, for example, people in Southeast Asia, both men and women accumulate more visceral fat. People in Southeast Asia, the same. African American population, usually men accumulate less fat than African American women, and white Caucasian, they usually accumulate fat in different way. You see it more in men and than in women. So as much as you have visceral fat, you will be affected by fasting, because fasting affects visceral fat quickly. So the first fat to be lost in your body is visceral fat and intrahepatic fat. And that's what had been seen with timed fasting or intermittent fasting. And you can see even after bariatric surgery, before people leave the hospital, intrahepatic fat goes significantly down. So it depends on how much visceral fat is.